Ace cards. Something a character carries with them despite how much their deck changes over the course of a series. Perhaps it's their favorite card, perhaps it's the core of the deck. All I know is it's not their boss monsters, it's not the most powerful monster they can get in their deck, because that's a different video that we're going to do very, very soon. Today, I want to know what were the ace cards for the characters in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 anime. Spoilers, Arc 5 is all about a world that was made up of fusion, synchro, xyz, and standard summoning. And then it got split into 4 different universes, and then the standard universe evolved into the pendulum summoning mechanics. Now it's the pendulum universe, and it's about an all-out war between these 4 dimensions. Let's take a look at them. Let's start first with the main character and his dimensional counterparts, but the main one first, Yuya Sakaki. Originally, Yuya's ace was Odd Eye's dragon, since he was from the standard dimension, and this was his combined forms standard dragon. He had 4 dragons basically. However, after pendulum summoning was invented, Odd Eye's dragon transformed into Odd Eye's pendulum dragon, and this monster would become his ace. This dimension dragon was unique just to him, and in every single one of his decks that he had, this card was in there. We also know this monster is his ace because it has the ace monster stat lineup, 2500 attack. Can't really argue with that. Now, since it's a pendulum monster, it actually has 2 effects, since it can be summoned as a monster or placed in the pendulum zone as a spell card. When it is summoned to the field, its monster effect is when it deals damage via an attack, it deals double damage. Whereas his pendulum effect was he could reduce the battle damage he took from an attack involving one of his pendulum monsters to 0, and during the end phase, he could destroy this card to add 1 pendulum monster with 1500 or less attack from his deck to his hand. Now, there are actually some runners-up for ace monster for Yuya, some surprising ones as well. So we got like Stargazer and Time Gazer Magician. This is like his go-to pendulum monsters when he wants to summon all his monsters to the field. And what's special about them as well is, I'm going to say this a bit later, but when you smush them together, it makes a card called Astrograph Sorcerer, which was a card that Zark, his combined form, used, and that was the monster that helped him merge with all of his dimensional dragons. It has a significant role in his deck, but that's that anyway. Alternatively as well, there was a card called Smile World. Now, this is the card that was given to his dad, and you might as well do this as well. Yugioh Sakaki and Yoko Sakaki, Yuya's mom and dad. We could also say that Smile World is their ace card as well, in a way, because it just represents having fun, entertaining as a style of dueling, and the way that Yuya reacted when he had to abandon this card in the middle of a duel, you can tell it means a lot to him. I think it's more of his like favorite card as opposed to his ace card, however. Next up, the Xyz dimension counterpart, Yugioh. His ace monster is, of course, his dimension dragon, Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. This monster is pretty awesome. You can detach 2 of its materials to halve the attack of your opponent's monster and add that attack onto its own. That's a permanent attack increase in the real world. In the anime, you can actually use this effect twice, but it ends at the end of the turn. So whichever one you want to think is better, I'll let you be the judge. Next up, we have the Synchro Dimension counterpart, Yugioh. His ace is his Dimension Dragon, Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. This monster's pretty cool. Probably one of the strongest of the Dimension Dragons because it has a negate ability, and its effect is when a level 5 or higher monster activates its effect on the field, you can negate the activation and then destroy that card. Once per turn, when a monster effect is activated that targets a level 5 or higher monster on the field, quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. This card's effect destroys a monster. This card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack until the end of the turn. It's a good card, and it looks really cool as well. So Yugioh's ace monster, pretty sick. Finally, we have the Fusion Dimension counterpart, Yuri. His ace is his Dimension Dragon, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. A very powerful monster because it has the effect that if it is fusion summoned, it gains attack equal to 1 opponent's special summoned monster until the end of the turn. Once per turn, you can target 1 level 5 or higher monster the opponent controls until the end phase. This card's name becomes that monster's original name, and replace this effect with that monster's original effect. If this fusion summon card is destroyed, you can destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls. Now, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but before the 4 Yuya boys were separated, they were one entity, and that person was known as Zark. Now, Zark, after going a little bit nutso, decided that I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my 4 ace monsters, my 4-dimensional dragons, and I'm going to smush them all together with me as well. And so by using the magic of Astrograph's sorcerer, he unites into the Supreme King Zark. Which, let's be fair, you could say that this monster is his ace. However, I think this one's more of his boss monster. I think his ace are his 4-dimensional dragons, and then when he turns into corrupted Dragon Zark, it's the corrupted versions of his ace monsters. Those are his ace monsters. Zark is his boss. Now, it wasn't just the U-Boys that were split into 4. There was also another person called Ray. She was the one that actually initiated the dimensional split. Because of this, she too has 4 counterparts to herself. But first things first, Ray, the original form, we never actually saw her duel, so we never got a sense of what her deck was about. However, we did see 4 cards that she used to defeat Zark. And these cards were her N spell cards. N flowers, N birds, N moon, and N winds. Didn't notice, by the way, each of these actually foreshadows what the dimensional counterpart's archetype will play. Just an example, N moon, it's a moon, it's the one that's associated with fusions and everything. What does the fusion counterpart of her play? Lunar lights. It's all about the moon. Each one of the cards specializes in turning one of the 3 extra deck types into normal monsters and then negating all of their effects. Finally, N Flowers deals damage by nuking the field and dealing damage for each card sent. After Ray was split, her pendulum dimension counterpart was Zuzu Boyle. She played the musical archetype Melodious, with her ace monster being Mozarta the Melodious Maestra. Now, I know this monster is a normal monster, and she would get more stuff like... Basically, she becomes proficient in fusion summoning, and that's something that the rest of her deck would sort of show. But I feel like this is her true ace, and everything else would become either a boss monster or just other cards that she could make. But I feel like this was her ace card. Its effect was once per turn, you can special summon 1 light fairy monster from your hand. However, you cannot special summon other monsters the turn you activate this effect, except light monsters. Next up, Ray's fusion counterpart, Selena. Her ace was Lunalight Cat Dancer. It had the effect that it couldn't be destroyed by battle. During the main phase, you contribute 1 other Lunalight monster for the rest of this turn. The first time each monster your opponent controls would be destroyed by battle, it is not destroyed. Also, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls twice each. If this card declares an attack, inflict 100 damage to your opponent. The synchro counterpart to Ray was Rin. Her ace was Wind Witch Winter Bell. Its effect was you could target 1 Wind Witch monster in the grave, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that target's level times 200. During the battle phase, quick effect, you can target 1 Wind Witch monster you control, special summon 1 monster from your hand with a level less than or equal to that monster, but it cannot attack this turn. Finally, we have the Xyz counterpart, Lulu Obsidian. Her ace was Livelisk Assembled Nightingale. Its effect allowed it to gain 200 attack for each material attached to it. It could attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of materials attached to it. Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach 1 material from this card until the end of this turn. Livelisk monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and you take no battle damage. It's worth noting towards the end of the series, these 4 girls get corrupted by a character called the Doctor. Basically, he slips a parasite into their brains to mind control them. This parasite is a real card, by the way. It's called Fusion Parasite, and I actually would say that this is his ace. We never see him play it because he doesn't duel. This is the card that instigates everything to get out his boss monster, which is Parasite Queen, but I would say this little parasite is the real ace of his deck. Moving on next to the Lancers, we have the Kyber of the series, if you will, Declan Akaba. He played a DDD deck, which stands for Different Dimension Demons. He's mastered all the summoning mechanics. He incorporates all of it into his play. He does this like contract thing where you lose 1,000 life points every turn by playing these contracts, but you can have ways to gain the life points instead and stuff. It's a very high risk but high reward kind of deck. It's pretty cool. He's a very, very powerful duelist. However, his ace monster was DDD Doom King Armageddon. Note, by the way, the 3,000 attack points, which puts it in line with rival ace cards, so it must be it, right? Anyway, its effect is its Pendulum effect. Once per turn, you can target 1 DD monster you control. It gains 800 attack until the end of the turn. Its monster effect was once per turn. If a monster you control is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can target 1 of those monsters. This card gains attack equal to that monster's original attack until the end of the turn. This card cannot attack your opponent directly during the turn this effect is activated. Cannot be destroyed by spell trap effects that do not target this card. Declan has a adopted younger sister called Rayra Akaba. She plays a CCC deck, which I don't really know. They never show what that actually stands for, but it's all about like cameras and stuff. So I'm just going to assume it stands for carbon copy creatures. That seems to be the consensus of what people believe it stands for. It's all about pictures, and the theme of the deck is all about summoning a monster with the same attributes as your opponent's monster to do something funky with that. So I guess that makes sense. Anyway, all the CCC monsters are all boss monsters. They're basically like weapons of a different summoning mechanic. But the only main deck monster that she plays is the only one I can actually say is probably her ace card, which is CC Critical Eye. It has the detrimental effect that if this card is used as a material for a Fusion Synchro Xyz summon, the other materials cannot be monsters you control. Now we also have Declan's dad, what you think is the main antagonist of the series, but turns out to be complete letdown. Let's not talk about Arc 5's bad ending and how the story went downhill and stuff. That's not this video. Anyway, it's Leo Akaba. Now he plays a spirit deck, but not a spirit monster deck, like a spirit archetype deck that's never been made. I would say his ace was a monster called Spirit Tech Force Pendulum Governor. Its pendulum effect was once per turn, you could add one spirit gem monster from your deck to your hand, while its monster effect was monsters your opponent controls, except pendulum monsters, cannot target this card for attacks. While you have 2 cards in your pendulum zone, monsters your opponent controls with a level between the pendulum scales of the cards in your pendulum zones cannot attack. Once per turn, you can target one Spirit Gem monster that was pendulum summoned from your hand and whose monster effect was not used, tribute that monster, and if you do, you can use the targeted monster's effect up to twice. Leo Akaba, he moved to the Fusion Dimension, created the Fusion Dimension War, made all the Fusion Dimension people go at war. He created like this academia thing, and there was like fodder enemies. They were called the Obelisk Force. They all played an Ancient Gear deck. They got like a structure deck for like passing the course or whatever, and that's what every single one of them played that deck. All of their ace monsters was Ancient Gear Hunting Hound, which was basically the monster you'd want to get out. It dealt damage, and I'm pretty sure it also fusion summoned as well, if I remember the effect correctly. But with that monster, they could get out the boss monster of the archetype, which is of course Ancient Gear Chaos Giant. It's a good card. There's one character that actually played the Ancient Gear deck, but went for a slightly different strategy rather than beatdown, and that was a character called Jean-Michel Roget. I think I butchered that name. Keep in mind, it's been a very long time since I watched Arc 5. This is hard to remember, but he did play an Ancient Gear deck. However, his ace instead was Ancient Gear Howitzer, which, if I remember correctly, it can't be affected by anything, but it can deal 1000 damage with its effect, and if it's destroyed, it special summons an Ancient Gear monster. I feel like I've remembered that effect right. I used to like Ancient Gear. We were talking about Lancers. Let me get back. We have Gong Strong. He plays a super heavy samurai deck, which is currently, as of the time of this video, just got new support in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Fun fact, they don't actually end on any super heavy samurai monsters. It just ends on a bunch of synchro monsters that have nothing to do with the archetype. That's neither here nor there. His ace monster is Super Heavy Samurai Big Benkai. Its effect is when this card is normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position. Super Heavy Samurai monsters you control can attack while in face-up defense. If they do, apply their defense for damage calculation. Shay Obsidian. His ace is Raid Raptor Rise Falcon. He had a lot of different Raid Raptors that he went into, but I would say this was his ace. And it's kind of the embodiment of him in a way as well, but its effect was this card can attack all special summon monsters your opponent controls once each. Once per turn, you can attach one Xyz material from this card, target one face-up special summon monster your opponent controls. This card gains attack equal to that monster's current attack. Now, Shay had a rival in the form of Sora Percy. Sora's deck is really cool. It's Fright Fur. Well, that's what the fusions are called. There is also the Fluffles and the Edge Imps. The way the deck works is you've got these really cute, fluffy creatures, like toys, which are the main deck, which I think in the episode that they appear in, like all the kids are like, oh, that's so cute. And then they summon like some really sharp tool of some kind, like scissors or a saw or something that look a bit edgy, but you're like, okay, all right. And then he fuses them together into a nightmare monster. And I think his ace monster out of all the ones he used was his Fright Fur Bear. Its effect was that when it destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the grave, you can equip that monster to this card as an equipped spell with this effect. The equipped monster gains 1000 attack. Sylvio Sawatari. This dude is like the Chaz of this series. He played way too many decks. He just couldn't seem to find his style. For his Dart Striker deck, his ace was Ultimate Dart Striker. For his water deck, it was Mobius the Mega Monarch. For his Yosenju deck, his ace was, I'm going to butcher this, hold on, Mayo Senju Dieback. I just couldn't say that all in one sentence. I don't know why. And finally, for his Abyss Actor deck, which I would say this is his actual ace since it's the deck he finished the series on, his ace monster was his Abyss Actor Superstar. Dennis McField. Dennis was like the protege of Yuya's dad, so he had like an entertainment style dueling and everything. So his ace was his Performase Trapeze Magician. Suki Kage, aka Moon Shadow. This guy didn't duel that much, but I'm just gonna say his ace was Twilight Ninja Shingetsu. Now, what's cool about the Arc 5 series, and one of its biggest appeals, was each of the dimensions actually had some familiar faces with them. However, they're not the characters from the old series. They are actually like remixed versions of them that led slightly different lives, and as such, played slightly different archetypes and decks. For example, for the Fusion Dimension Legacy characters, we have Asta Phoenix. His ace was Destiny Hero Dystopia. Its effect was, if this card is special summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower Destiny Hero monster in your grave, inflict damage to your opponent equal to their target's attack. If this card's current attack is different from its original attack, quick effect, you can target one card on the field, destroy it, and if you do, this card's attack becomes equal to this card's original attack. Alexis Rhodes. Despite coming from the Fusion Dimension, she doesn't actually play a Fusion deck. She plays a Ritual deck, similar to how she did in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime. Now, while Cyber Angel Vrash could be argued that it's an ace monster, I would say that her ace card is actually her ritual spell, her archetypal ritual spell, if you will, because it's very good. Machine Angel Ritual. Its effect is this card can be used to ritual summon any Cyber Angel ritual monster. If a light monster you control would be destroyed by a battle or card effect while this card is in your grave, you can banish this card instead. For the Synchro Dimension Legacy characters, we have Jack Atlas. His ace was his Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend with the effect. This card's name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while it is on the field or in the grave. Once per turn, you can destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field as possible with less attack than or equal to this card. Then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. We also have Crow Hogan, whose ace monster is Assault Blackwing Raikiri the Rain Shower. Its effect is if this card is synchro summoned using a Blackwing monster as a material, it is treated as a tuna monster while face up on the field. Once per turn, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of Blackwing monsters you control, destroy them. For the Xyz Dimension, we only had one this time, and it is Kite Tenjo. His ace is Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon. Its effect is once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Monsters you control cannot attack your opponent directly for the rest of the turn, except this card. Also, take control of the targeted monster until the end phase, but while this effect is applied, it has its effects negated, its attack becomes 3000. Also, its name becomes Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon. So you can kind of see how the legacy characters' ace monsters are similar to their old ace monsters, but different. Following on from these, we have the Tyler Sisters. They were a tag team duo that had a Amazoness deck. Grace's ace was Amazoness Pet Liger, while Gloria's ace was Amazoness Empress. We also had Battle Beast and Sanders. Both of these two played a Gladiator Beast deck. However, Battle Beast's aced monster was Gladiator Beast Andabata, which I think I butchered, but the professor that he was paired with, he didn't like him very much and he was a bit too strict. That's why he played the monster Gladiator Beast Tamer Editor. A very good card, by the way, in the real world. What it represented for the Battle Beast, it wasn't very good. There were 3 characters that we met that were each from the different courses at the LDS Academy, Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz. Julie Crystal, she was from the Fusion course, and her ace, you could say it was Master Diamond or Lady Brilliant or something like that, but I think it was the Fusion card, Gem Knight Fusion. It's such a good card as well. Like, I like this card. I like the Gem Knights. That would make more sense, I think, for the Fusion user. We also have Kit Blade from the Synchro course. His ace was XX Saber Gothams. Its effect was you contribute 1 X Saber monster to discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand. Ripping cards from your opponent's hand, always good. Contributing a monster to do that effect, it's not too bad. I don't think there was a once per turn on that as well, so could be broken. Finally, from the Xyz course, we have Dipper Orion. He actually played a Constella deck, and his ace was Constella Pleiades. There was also those 3 kids that were kind of like the cheerleaders for the main cast, and there was that one kid, oh man, I hated him. He used to, in the Japanese, he used to go shiveru all the time. Ooh. But yeah, that kid was, what was his name? Frederick. His ace was Doodle Beast Tyranno. Don't get me wrong, the Doodle Beasts are kind of cool. They're like kid-drawn dinosaurs, but I didn't like that kid. We had Ali, who actually played an Aqua Actress deck, and she played Aqua Actress Aranoa as her ace. And finally, there was Tate, who barely saw a duel, but the closest thing to an ace monster we saw him use was Perform Machine Gadget Giant. Now, because I don't remember a lot of the miscellaneous characters, some of them I do, we'll just tear through these ones. The Sledgehammer, his ace was Battle Guard King. Sergei Volko, his ace was Thorn Overseer Vander Lizuma for his Thorn Prisoner deck, while for his Earthbound Immortal deck, his ace was Earthbound Servant Yugioh Grasher. Barrett's ace was Beastborg Panther Predator. Kev Ravenwood's ace was Hierophant of Prophecy. Halil's ace was Fire Jin the Flame Genie of the Lamp. Olga's ace was Glacial Beast Iceberg Narwhal. Aura Sentia's ace was Prediction Princess Tartare. Grizzlepike Jones' ace was Shaman Battle Guard. Iggy Arlo's ace was Idaten the Conqueror Star. Taka and Nagi's aces were Fujin and Raijin the Breakbolt Stars. Mickey Starlet's ace was Wing Weaver. Saya Sasayama's ace was Little Fairy. Alan Kozuki's ace was Heavy Armored Train Iron Wolf. Shinji Weber's ace was Battle Wasp Ballista the Armageddon. Chojiri Tokamatsu's ace was Flower Cardian Light Shower. Captain Cutter's was Captain Luck. Diana and Apollo's aces were Numeral Keeper and Luminous Keeper. I don't remember most of those miscellaneous characters. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a while since I watched the series. But with that, that's Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 Anime Ace Monsters done. I had a lot of help from the internet with that one because I didn't remember a lot of these characters. I had to have a refresher. I ain't watching all through Arc 5 to get through all this again, but we've only got one more of these left, and it's going to be Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. That's a very short series, and the most recent one that I watched, so it should still be fresh in the mind. But with all that said, thank you very much for watching. Catch you later. Bye, everyone.